Welcome back to the Sales Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Ingram. Today, completely honored to have author John Gray, the legendary author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He's joining us today. The book is recognized as one of the most influential relationship books of the last quarter century. John's work has helped millions understand the dynamics between men and women. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the new book that he has, which is Beyond. Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And I'm going to throw in a couple entrepreneurial insights as we delve into the intriguing connections between the men and women, because it all happens the same thing in sales as you go through, and exploring how mastering interpersonal relationships can enhance your relationship both in work and sales as well as in your overall relationship. So get ready to gain some profound insights from one of the world's leading relationship experts. Kick it.
Welcome to War Games, hosted by the sales genius Joe Ingram. If you're looking to win the sales battle, then you have joined the right team. In the War Games group, we devise strategies for sales, marketing, branding, mindset, and attitude. We enlist the assistance from the most successful producers across all industries. We then share their knowledge and techniques with you. Our single goal is to get you ready for your next sales opportunity. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that have crossed before you. Now, prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for the War Games to begin.
Are we playing games?
Hey, Joe's here. Let me throw some VIPs on the stage. We have Netta is joining me because, of course, why would I have John Gray on and not have my bride on? Yes, and then we're going to throw Coach Dan Gordon, who just as soon as I said, let's go live, he was like, pink, disappeared off. And I'm like, thanks for that.
I just want to keep you guessing, Joe.
Right, exactly. Fantastic. Okay, and the man of the hour right here, Dr. John Gray. Thank you, John, so much for taking time out of your day. It means the world to me.
Happy to be here. I really like that intro. I'm all jazzed up.
Yeah, I have to get enough music with enough upbeat, but not get pinged on YouTube for using someone else's. Yeah, that was hard enough as it was. So, John, you have a new book out. We were talking a little bit before we came on, and we all said, stop. We need to actually just get this back on the actual show. So we're here. So, John, thanks. I'm going to move us around a little bit, mainly because I want you over here where it's all big. There we go. So that's it.
All right.
So you're the master, right? You're the one everybody runs to say, how do we talk about relationships? How do we talk about men versus women? What are you seeing currently today, right, that you're saying this is wrong and we need to flip back?
You know, if you use some of your sales knowledge with relationship, you can really make a relationship better if you understand that when you're selling somebody, you're on what we call the male side. See, if I'm selling somebody, I have to convince them it's not for me, it's for you. See, I'm there for you. That's masculine energy. Feminine energy is your client. What they need to feel is that they can trust you, that you care about them, and you listen to them, that you hear them, and that you respect them, that they are number one. See, this is what I teach men, is how you win a woman over. You have to win her over again and again and again. And it's not as difficult as people think. For example, in sales, if a woman says to me, and particularly anybody I'm selling to, they're on their female side, so to speak, the receiving side, and I'm winning them over. I want to build trust with them. I would presume you know that, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Brian Galkey in the comments, so he had to go take Daddy-Daughter Day. Otherwise, he's normally on the screen. So ask John the term that knocked everyone dead at Secret Knock, because we were there together. Yeah. So we were talking offline, Brian. Yes. So
Do
But
I
no,
have to? Are you really wanting me to, or is this just?
no, you don't have to. We're not here.
You need the right audience for that. And you gave me 30 minutes to talk. I have a little bit more rapport to build up. It has to do with sex. And you don't, as a man, you don't go for sex until you build rapport. Because one of the differences between men and women is, generally speaking, for a woman to be feeling, I want sex, she needs to be making 20 times more estrogen than a man. And for a man to feel turned on to someone he loves, he needs to suddenly have his testosterone levels double. And what happens is, for a man just to feel good about himself, he needs to be making 10 times more testosterone than women. So this is where, let's throw away all these gender foolishness that we're really that we're the same, because we're not. We're biologically different. What motivates women are primarily different from men, but men have a female side. So if I'm thinking about hiring you, Joe, or buying something that you're selling to me, I want to trust that it's okay, because I'm going to let you affect me for the rest of my life, and I'm going to pay for it. So this is a woman having sex, and I'm going to have a child as a result. That's the female side of things, which is, so any salesperson, you want to make sure you understand the client. Then the bigger the sell, the more a man will go to his female side, just so you know. But not all men are going to go that far to the female side. But so the skill of understanding women is to recognize hormonally. There's a point where a woman, we'll call it the sale point, where she's ready to sign the document.
Close the deal. All right.
Closing the deal. And she's going to buy in. Yes. She's going to buy in and come to the deal. Come on home. Okay. So for that to happen, it's a biological reality inside of women. Men don't understand this, is that when you are kind to a woman, when you're respectful to her, when you understand where she's coming from, when you have all these signals that you prioritize her. And it can be little things. It'd be like, if I'm selling a woman in business, I'm not going to say I know if I'm with a man, I'm going to tell him, I understand that, I can do that for you, I can get it done. Because basically for men, our bottom line is never do anything you don't have to do. So it's, in a sense, it could be interpreted as laziness. So if I can prove to him, I'm going to make his job easier and make him look good, he doesn't have to do as much work, I sold it. Okay. Yeah. But if I'm selling a woman, I want to make sure she knows subtleties, little things that say she's a priority to me, that I care about her, that she's important to me. And so she's going to ask me questions, and I'm going to purposely say, if it's somewhat true, I don't really have the clear answer to that, I'll get back to you. One of the things women don't like about their husbands is their husbands are always trying to be right. And women will talk about a problem or something, and a guy will go, oh, you should just do this, or you should do this, as opposed to the solution, which is the same solution in sales, particularly with a woman or a man who's making a big purchase or a big commitment. Tell me more. Help me understand the situation better. What has been your experience in the past? What's going on inside of you? That puts person in the buying mode. Well, for women, that makes them sexually attracted to a man. A woman can feel safe with a man, first of all, that she's heard. This is a big, big deal. For her biologically to feel turned on to a man sexually, her estrogen levels have to go from 10 times the normal level of a man. So that means what stimulates estrogen? That would be good. And then to have romantic feelings, it needs to double. So that's why you have all these little romantic rituals. And I have like 50 different biohacks beyond the normal romantic rituals that are actually biohacks to get women in the mood. What would it be? It would be, I'm taking you on a date. I'm going to open the car door for you. Old-fashioned thing. Well, now, the first time I did that with my wife of 32 years, Bonnie, she said, I can do that myself. And my response is, of course you can do that yourself, but you give so much to me and our children and our family. Tonight, let me do everything for you. And boom, whether she likes it or not, estrogen levels are going to start to rise. See, women are living in a sea of I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. And what they need to feel is that they don't have to do everything. Someone's going to do for them, and in a caring way. So a little biohack might be, and I want to say to all the men, you're in a relationship with a woman. tell her that every day I just want you to know that you can ask me to do something in the realm of 5 minutes and I will jump to it. Because I know sometimes I'm preoccupied, I'm doing something, you don't want to bother me. But actually, it's really good. I read it in this book, Beyond Mars and Venus, that women have a challenge today. When they go over to their male side and they're making money, anytime you're making money, you're making testosterone. Testosterone is just not the same as estrogen. Testosterone gets produced when you're achieving a goal. When you have a goal and you have a mindset that says, what can I do to achieve the goal? What's the most efficient way to achieve my goal? And what's the risk I have to take? And, if life had no risks, men's testosterone levels would drop. Risk is important for the male side of us. It actually raises testosterone as long as it's not too much of a risk. If we feel I can do it and it's a challenge, that actually raises testosterone in men. And if you want to be attractive to a woman, you want to be making 10 to 20 times more testosterone than her in her presence. That's the key to this, is that when a man, and that's called being turned on to her. Okay, you get turned on to her. You desire her. You passionately want to be with her. But at the same time, one of the qualities of testosterone that produces testosterone is patience, confidence, and patience, centeredness, groundedness. So if a woman feels you're being needy and she has to give in to you, otherwise it will hurt your feelings, you've lost her. In a sense, we have to be impenetrable.
I'm hearing so many great parallels to selling, like patience, listening, respect. I love the story about your wife saying, "Hey, I can do that myself." Right. So, in a sale, I know sometimes people feel like they're being intimidated or they're being controlled, but it's really listening and responding to them. Like, this is really gold.
Yeah, and also your advantage as a man selling to a woman is you're going to behave in ways that her husband has never been taught to behave.
Oh, here we go.
Women have an advantage in sales because they can treat you in a way that a man's wife never treats him.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Is it wrong that
this is how it would look if I'm a woman and I want to make sales with a man? It's like to give little indications that what I can do for you, just like if I'm selling, what can I do for you? But she can throw in, and I will be so happy doing that. I will be so glad to do that. It's my pleasure.
Right.
Rarely does your wife say, "I'm happy to do that for you." And so you suddenly have this huge power of women to build up a man's ego, because there's research studies that 3 minutes in the presence of a happy woman lowers stress in men. It literally, without women around, we would be so numb to our feelings of happiness and joy. Otherwise, only way we find happiness and joy is with addiction, which is always fleeting. But when a woman's around and she's happy in response to you, there's nothing better for a man. So this is the advantage that women have in sales, is to always point out that I'm glad to do that. Well, I could do that for you, and I can do this. Again, these are using your sexuality has extra perks in sales if you understand your power as a woman and your power as a man in terms of relationship. And of course, from my point of view, you guys are the sales guys. I'm into selling myself to my wife every day. So, a lot of these ideas you can't just spring on your partner, but they're biohacks, like the opening the car door, of course. And you always do it if it's a romantic date. I'm not saying you always do it. It's on the practical days where there's no romantic thing going on. It doesn't have to be all the time. That's impractical. And it would become routine. So then comes the date. Dating is a biohack to raise estrogen in women. If the date is about doing something he likes, it will not raise estrogen in a woman. She may like doing it. She's codependent. A lot of women are that way, where their happiness is dependent on your happiness. But that's a sickness. What we want to do is get women back to being happy and fulfilled, not because they made you happy, but because you make them happy. That's the health thing. I'm so lucky to be with my husband. He's amazing. He makes me happy. So it's one of the concepts of Men Are From Mars, which is so profound. And that's right in the classic book. And then I update it with biohacks in this book. But it's that women keep score all the time. Okay, they're always keeping score. And like I was about to give an example in sales, which is I'll say to a woman, first of all, I'm not sure about that, but I'll get back to you. Already she feels like, oh, this is an authentic, humble man. Women typically don't like arrogance. Men love arrogant men. Okay, if I come to you and I know just what to do. I've got this handled. I've done this before. I can do this and this and this. A man goes, great. I won't have to struggle at all. But a woman, you have to be careful not to be arrogant, like you have all the answers. And it's a humbleness, which is, again, coming back to, I know this is the right thing for you, means nothing to a woman until you go, well, tell me what your experiences have been, what you've gone through. And then she hears that her problems have been heard. And then if she's looking for the answer to that, she feels like the answer is personal to her. Everything for women is about personal. So just to get to this little point I was going to make, I'd say I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you on how's Tuesday sound. And she says, well, that sounds okay. And I say, how about 2:00? Or is there another time you'd like? So she says, no, maybe call me at 4. Okay, I could do that. Or call me at 2. I'll do that. A woman is now going to be testing you. They're always testing you, whether they're married to you or not. They're testing. Am I important to you? Am I important to you? Do you care about me? Am I a priority? So I will make sure that at 2:00 I call her, because that will win her over. That little thing wins her over. Whereas if a guy said, I'll call you at 2 and he didn't call, you know what my reaction would be? He's probably really busy doing something else. He'll get back to me when he does. I'm going to be very lenient about that, fluid about that, because I'm that way. But when I'm with a woman, I want to make sure I follow through on the little things. See, it's little things. The idea in Men Are From Mars is that women keep score. That means they're giving and giving. And at a certain point, they're going, what am I getting back? And a lot of women won't admit that they keep score, but a lot do. They're self-aware and they realize. But it's whenever a woman says, I give and give and give, I get nothing back. That's called a scorecard. And
it is.
There's not a woman that's unhappy with her husband that I don't hear from her. I do this and this and this, and I don't get anything back. And what men don't understand is money is not enough to have a woman feel she's getting what she needs. As a matter of fact, particularly if you're really needing food and a guy goes out and earns food money, she's very grateful and appreciative. But once you've got your basic standard of living, what the money is not going to make that big of a difference to women. It does make a difference, but what it makes is what becomes more important is the emotional signals that you care about her, understand her, respect her. So in Men Are From Mars, it looks like this. I'll shorten it down, but it's women on Venus. If you give them 24 roses, in a man's mind, you think, okay, that should be 24 points if we're keeping score. But for women, 24 roses is one expression of love. For women, big or small, it's the same expression of love, because that's what they want, is the reassurance and the love and the caring and all that. So I can give her 24 roses. That's 1 point of estrogen, maybe 2. I give her 1 rose. That's 1 point of estrogen. This is the dynamic. And then you have to add in another complication, which I talk about in this book. This is 25 years after I wrote Men Are From Mars. So I'm dealing with all the yes, buts and the yes, buts and the yes, buts, which definitely happens. And so in that case, a guy could bring his wife 24 roses or 1 rose, and you get nothing. Why do you get nothing? Because a woman can't give you points unless she's already has about 10 times more estrogen than a man. That means she's happy. So I hold that. It changed my whole perspective on my wife, which is I don't ever feel responsible for her unhappiness. And, I'm an adult. I'm responsible for my happiness. She's an adult. She's responsible for her happiness. And my job as a husband is to make her happier. This is what it's about. And I primarily, by making her happier, I look at myself as a man. That's what makes me happier. See, I've got my work. I got my job. I got my friends. I've got a life. I study, I learn, I have self-improvement, I have a spiritual relationship. I'm a happy guy, but I can become happier. And the way I'm happier is by providing for her a kind of unique support that I don't give anybody else, which makes her happier. Now, she can't become happier unless she gets her life together to be somewhat happy. But what I see to be the case, when men don't understand women, they get in the way of her finding her happy. Basically, she comes home, she wants to talk about her day, have some connection with you, and they have a greater need for connection. Now, men, they go, I need connection. Usually it's sexual connection. Just think how important sex is to a man. That's sexual connection. Well, women have a need for emotional connection, like we have a need for sexual connection. I'm not saying some women are very sexual, some are less sexual, but they all need connection emotionally. And if they don't know it. They don't know what they don't know. So, and I have to say, from a higher point of view, the reason men are so into sex, at least as long as they can do it, and you don't have to stop, by the way, men. I'm in my 70s. I had more sex than I've ever had in my life. My testosterone levels are 50% higher than when I was a young man. It's because I learned these biohacks, and my wife knows these biohacks because she can do things to raise my testosterone. I can do things to raise her estrogen. And that's what we want to learn, is what are those skills? So one of the things, my wife just came back from a business trip in China. Now, my wife of 34 years, Bonnie, she died 7 years ago, or 6 years ago, but she got cancer 7 years ago. And, she passed. I did grieving, and then I'm married again. And I married a person I met. I've been working in China for 9 years, which, by the way, why do I work there? Quite a bit, because they pay more. Simple as that. And, and, for women to understand men, I'll use this as an example, because we got some women listening here. And women don't know that a man can change on a dime if you're getting paid more. Okay, so I'm going to shorten an example. You give me a short amount of time, but my wife gets a little puppy. This is Bonnie.
I'm not going to turn you off. I'm not going to say, no, John, stop. No, go.
Well, I got all day. And you guys are my guys, okay? This is a high achievers. High achievers, the things that allow you to achieve in the workplace often are the worst qualities in a relationship. Okay, so it's like work is everything. So, and for my wife and for women, it's even more challenging, high achieving women. Oh my gosh. Because what they're doing in being a high achiever is that they're on their male side. And when you're on your male side, you're making testosterone, and money feels good and great. So here's the story here, particularly for women to understand, and men to understand ourselves a little bit better. She got a little puppy, and then she told me she picked it out without even talking to me. Already I felt good, because that means I don't have to take care of the puppy. And she's like, I'm so sorry I picked it out, but I really wanted one. Because see, if I picked out a puppy without her knowing about it, that would be disastrous. But she picks it up. Great. You picked out your puppy. That means you're a puppy. I'll help out. But it always ends up me doing it. That's the way it is. And I'm happy with that. So she takes you have to get 3 visits to the vet to have a puppy, to get a little license or whatever. So the first 2 visits, she says, she comes home complaining, oh my gosh, it was so much traffic. It was so far away. Why don't we have a vet near our house? And this dog is so possessive. And she went on and on, like women can do for a good 10 minutes, about how terrible the trip was. Now, very wisely, what I do is listen. That's what we do as men, just listen. And if we're smart, I hear you, honey. Tell me more. That was awful. I can't believe it. We should wish there was a vet closer. And I'm not going to fix anything. What I'm going to do is hear her. As opposed to say things that most of us men foolishly do, like, well, honey, that's what people do. Those other people do it too. You can't complain about it. There's a dog, it's a puppy, or she said, the dog's so protective of me. I said, well, that's a good thing, honey. She's protective. That's not the time to say that stuff. Okay. It's the time just to listen. But we think we're helping when we're not helping. And that was that example I gave, which is, we think we're doing everything right, but actually we can be interfering with her ability to be happy. So that's another aspect of our art of understanding differences. Just like in sales, when you feel sorry for somebody, you guys already know this, but I'll say it just for fun. You don't say, well, think about it and get back to me.
Get back to me. Yeah. Go home.
Yeah, because that'll happen.
Yeah.
So, pregnant pause, very important. So pregnant pause is feeling the discomfort and not letting them off of feeling the discomfort. Well, I reverse that around in marriage and relationships. When a woman is talking, feel the discomfort of not being able to solve her problem. Feel the discomfort of not being able to tell her, don't worry about it. Feel the discomfort of saying, honey, that's not really what's going on. Instead, feel the discomfort and know that through your own discomfort, you're able to empathize with whatever discomfort she's going through. Because a certain thing has to happen where women have to connect. And if you can't connect in that way, they're gonna make you feel uncomfortable so that they feel so they can resonate with your pain and suffering. They'll make you suffer. Okay, playfully said. All right.
Yeah.
So back to the dog story. So the dogs are there. And so the third time, on the third time for the dog to go back, she says to me, because already she felt guilty asking me to bring the dog when she picked out the dog. And so then she did it a second time. And so she's complaining about it, but she knows I love her and whatever. So she says to me, well, we have to bring the dog to the vet. We have to bring the dog to the vet. And she said, do you want to? And I said, no. And she was shocked. I mean, she just, what? You don't want to? After all I got, it's terrible. You want me to go do it again? I said, I didn't say that. You said you won't do it. I said, no. You asked me, do you want to take the dog to the vet? Why would I want to take the dog to the vet when it's such a horrible experience? And you've explained that to me over and over. But if you ask me and you tell me, honey, would you take the dog to the vet? It would make me so happy because I don't want to do it. Instantly, any man would go, sure, I'll be happy to do it. So I said, sure, if you say that, honey, I'm happy to do it. And she argued with me. And she says, no, you won't be happy to do it. You'll resent me. You don't want to do it. I said, no, now I want to do it because it will make you happy. And she says, no, you said you don't want to do it. Because in her mind, she can't imagine how quickly a guy can turn on the dime. If this is going to be a big sale, I'm happy to do whatever it takes. Okay. But there's got to be a reward in it at the end. Correct. And this is, why I would go to China so much. When that stock market was going up, they had immediately millionaires there. And they pay me $100,000 first class travel to give a one-day seminar. I'm like, cool with that. I'll go and do that. And
yeah, that's not a bad deal.
That's not a bad deal at all. They won't do that now. My rates have come back down. But, it was a good ride. I'm glad about that ride. But the point being is that based upon the reward, a man's motivation increases. His testosterone is the motivation hormone will go up. And if women can learn this, they can wake up the man's motivation. But the first thing women have to know about men will lose all motivation to a great extent that they had in the beginning. Because in the beginning of a relationship, we're motivated to please her, to get to know her, to win her over. And it's kind of like, now I've got her, I don't have to do anything. This motivation goes away. And that's just a way of describing it. But actually, it's biological. In this book, I'm always coming back to the biology of these things, and descriptions follow biology. Just the fact that you're in a sexual relationship knocks up your dopamine in a man, and that knocks up your testosterone. And testosterone is the energy, dopamine saying, do it now. So when you have that dopamine and testosterone, that's where all the romantic feelings come from in men. And for women, dopamine, which is a little bit of danger, vulnerability, along with him making you feel safe because he's so interested in making you happy, that causes her estrogen levels to shoot really high. So she has a very high libido at that time, unless she's really hung up around sex for some reason. But she'll have a strong libido. But that changes. Married couples stop having sex. That's just the reality. And it certainly doesn't feel the way it felt in the beginning. So I have another biohack. I have biohacks for all this stuff, just use understanding how men and women are different and our hormones and so forth. And this is a sweet one. So this is between you and your sweetheart up there, Neda. What you do is, first of all, one basic biohack is 4 hugs a day. 4 hugs a day where the man initiates the hugs, not the woman initiating the hugs. See, it's pursuing, desiring, experiencing her liking what you did is the motivating factor. But women have to learn all these other skills, which we're about to get to, how to motivate men. You have to be the reward to his actions. So what he's going to do is, in these biohacks, this is 4 times a day. When you get up, when you leave, or she leaves, when you return, and when you go to bed, or somebody goes to bed and somebody's still there. What it looks like is you notice, like when I come home, my priority is, I got back when I had little kids. I say, the first thing I say to my kids is, where's your mom? Not interact with my kids. Because women always start, not always, but quite often are jealous. The husband's always spending time with the kids and not her. And matter of fact, this all emerged, this whole understanding. And she complained to me one time the kids only listen to me. They don't listen to her. And I thought, oh, well, let me demonstrate to the kids that mom's more important than the kids. See, this, you have to constantly give this message, who's most important to kids, because otherwise they think they're the most important. And then they become bossy and demanding and whatever, and not listen to their mother. So it just changed in 2 weeks. I started every day coming home saying to my kids, where's your mom? And then I would go give her a hug. And the little one I'd carry her along with it. But, they all follow me, something new, dad's home, some newness, some excitement. So I go give Bonnie a hug. And then the other one was at dinner time. I'd usually be doing some emails after work. And Bonnie would be cooking and she'd say, dinner's ready. And I'd say, kids, go into dinner. And I'll be in a few minutes. All I did is stop doing that and say, hey, kids, dinner's ready. Let's go in right now. And they saw me having an instant response of respecting her. She's put this dinner together. It's still hot. Let me get in there. And she notices, she understands. And so she's feeling respected. The kids seeing me respecting her. Suddenly they're listening to her more. And of course, who gets all the points for that? I get points. I find her. I get a point for looking for her. I get a point for giving her a hug. And it has to be a specific kind of hug, long enough to produce these hormones. If you give a hug for 6 to 7 seconds, which is not sexual, no sex, no rubbing of the thighs. It's not like giving her a kiss afterwards, a French kiss. None of that. It's not romantic hug. It's a friendship, loving, kind family hug. So you would run to her, give her a 6 to 7 second hug. That's 2 points. How many points do you get for coming home? 1 point. Making a lot of money? 1 point. Every act of love scores equal to every other act of love. Now, there's times when it doesn't. For example, if you need money and a man's out there working really hard, you're going to get more points for that. But Harvard even did a study that said that at that time, the kind of upper middle class was $100,000 a year. They found that when a man makes $100,000 a year and a woman doesn't have to work, it was really a boon to the relationship. But once you go above 100,000, it wasn't that much of a boon. And making more than that actually created more problems in the relationship. And why would that be? Because once you're making more money as a man, you're thinking that should make her happy. No, that just provides her survival need happiness. But once your survival need happiness is fulfilled, then it's your emotional needs that become just as important. Maslow explained that to us. An example of that is one time Bonnie and I were driving up to our ranch, and we hadn't figured all this stuff up yet, but so I've gone through all the problems everybody goes through and figured out with.
You were just documenting what you learned. That's where the book's so successful. It's real, based on life.
It's based on life. Everything's based on life. So we get to the ranch and it was new. We're all excited about it. But we get in there. There's no double panes. There's the walls are thin. This is an old ranch house and it's cold. And there's a fireplace. Well, anyway, we were arguing on the way up and there was like a tension between us. And then we get there and it's cold. And then I start putting logs into the fire and built us a fire. All tension was away because we were into survival mode. When you're cold and uncomfortable, the only I care about is warmth. But once you have warmth, it's like if you're cold and you put on a nice jacket, then you're not going to notice you're wearing a jacket. It's as simple as that.
The discomfort's gone.
Yeah. The comfort's gone. So when you're providing, so what happens for women as they go to as survival is taken care of, security is taken care of, tends to be that these emotional needs become more important. And today, more than any other time in history, women's emotional needs are more important than anything. Now, why would that be? Because women are more on their male side. This is great. There's freedom, there's empowerment. In the past, there's been good husbands, but there's bad husbands. And if you're stuck with a bad husband, and typically a bad husband is a husband who didn't have a father or didn't have a mentor, didn't have a training to be successful, or lived in a country where the ruling class was very dysfunctional. So, you're basically a slave. And in that situation, you can't make your testosterone. You need to be rewarded. And, when you look back in history, there was so much slavery everywhere around the planet. There was so much dysfunction and war because what motivates me as a father is I want my children to have a better life. I want my house and the value of my property goes up. I want my kids to get that, which I'll just toss in there. Somebody said to me, Your best investment will always be your home. Just remember that. Your best investment is your home. You're always paying, it's putting money in the bank account. Just save it with that house and live in it as well.
No one's making more land. Yes.
That's right. No one's making more land. That's exactly it. Location, location, location.
Yeah.
And just like you have location, 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 in relationships, men, listen, listen, listen. Don't speak. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And when a woman looks at you like, how could you forget, and gives you the evil eye, which they do sometimes. They want you to like, what most men will say, another biohack. They will say, okay, I'm sorry, but it's not a big deal. So many times women get upset about things that aren't a big deal. And you're supposed to say, I'm sorry over something little, that the reason you forgot to do it in your mind, in your world, it's not a big deal. So once again, your testosterone crashes if you say, I'm sorry for something that's not a big deal. You know, if I'm 2 hours late, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Your dinner is ruined. I should have called. I get it. You know, kick me in the face, punch me, you know, whatever you want to do. But, you know, I'm 15 minutes late for dinner, or even 20 minutes. And she says, you didn't even call. You know, what am I supposed to do? I worry about you. I listen. And then what I say, I don't say I'm sorry if I don't feel I'm sorry. See, men don't feel sorrow when it's not a big deal. If it's a big deal, we naturally feel it. So if I say I'm sorry, not only does it make my testosterone go down because I'm not authentic, but two, she doesn't trust you anyway. She says, I don't believe it. I hear in your tone of voice, you don't really mean it. So what's your win-win? What do you say? Because in her mind, she's looking for validation. And here again, it's a technique. You just simply listen, help me understand what happened as a result, get her to talk a little bit. Why talk? Because for women, talking produces estrogen. And women have to make 10 times more estrogen to keep stress levels down. Whenever a woman is stressed, her estrogen levels are too low. It is a little more complicated after, if she's still cycling, it's because also after ovulation, I explain in 3 chapters, women's hormones. It's not an easy thing to figure out. I did the work for you. What has to happen after ovulation is her estrogen levels have to drop a bit and her progesterone levels have to rise up. And so progesterone gets produced in a different scenario than estrogen. Particularly, estrogen is produced when a woman feels I can depend on you for something meaningful, something significant. Whenever a woman goes to a doctor, for example, her estrogen levels go up. So many times people only get better going to doctors because of the placebo effect. You know, if she's feeling trust, her stress goes down. And, you know, when people talk about doctors today, they say they're so rushed, they have no time to listen to you. And usually it's the women that are saying that because they know the importance. Oh, the baby's here. How adorable.
Grandbaby.
How sweet. How sweet. Well, I want to give a whole talk on parenting, but I'm not. I want to recommend to both of you my favorite book on parenting besides my book. My book is Children from Heaven. But my daughter, who has a baby like that, she's turned me on to another book on parenting, which I have to admit is better than mine. And that is, it's called.
Don't admit that out loud. Your
testosterone. No. It really is. I'm not kissing ass. I mean, really better than my book. I have learned so much. I wouldn't not read my book because my book's all about raising your children's self-esteem and more from a psychological point of view. This is Hunt, Gather, Parent. Hunt, Gather, Parent. A joy to read. My first few pages, first few chapters, I was resistant to hearing somebody say different stuff from me. And then I watched my daughter doing it. And that child is just glowing. And parents can't believe how wonderful that child is, the way she's being raised. So that would be, that book explains it. So I'm not going to go into that, but it's a mind blower. I have to shift my subject back to whatever I was just talking about. Hey, Coach Dan, what was I just talking about? I know you're right on top of it.
Man, you were covering everything, but I have a question. All right.
Okay, we'll go on to that question.
Okay. So I am loving what you're talking about, you know, the
listening. Let me just finish the listening thing.
I was waiting to go. I'm going to listen to him till he gets to listening.
My wife is looking at me. You know, you forgot. I can't believe you did that. and you feel like she wants you to say, I'm sorry, but you really don't feel it, but you feel like you're supposed to say it, don't say it. If you say something, it has to be authentic. Don't fake it. So what can you say? I didn't know what to say. So finally learned how to say it. Is what she needs is that she was heard. She's communicating to you. What you just simply say with a little sincerity, you having heard the situation, realized that this was a problem for her, then you basically go, I hear you. That's it. And then or it can be, I got it, or I hear you, and done. You don't have to say you're sorry. Now, that's because you don't really experience it being that big of a deal, because it's not that big of a deal. There's things that are a big deal. Go to a therapist for that. Infidelity, violence, drug addiction. Okay, that's a big deal. The rest of the stuff couples have problems with is little stuff. One of my favorite books, which everybody should read, is, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's all small stuff. That's the reality. But women don't live in that world because they live in a world of estrogen. And if you don't feel heard, your estrogen levels go down. And then there's this tendency to want to amplify your emotions of dissatisfaction, because ironically, when you're unhappy and you express it, you make estrogen. If you complain and you're unhappy, you make estrogen. So while men are addicted to porn, which is the worst thing for healthy testosterone levels, women get addicted to complaining, because complaining, which is one of the worst relationship skills ever invented, is going to produce more estrogen temporarily. Okay, so complaining is focusing on negative. Negative produces dopamine. It gives her a hit of estrogen, and it feels good. So temporarily she'll feel better, but certainly if you complain to your husband, it's not gonna raise his testosterone. It's just gonna push it down. She's not gonna feel heard, because when you complain about a man, he only can get defensive. We are your protectors. If somebody attacks, we defend. And this is a good quality in men, although we have to practice not defending, to our best of our ability. If a woman's upset, just to realize she's not attacking you. She's upset. She needs to talk. You need to listen. Don't take it to heart. In a sense, practice karate, which is you dug and you dodge, kung fu. Just don't react. As soon as you react, it only amplifies her feeling of you don't understand. You don't understand. So you have to realize that to really understand women is to realize that anytime they have a complaint, there's an unfulfilled need. And one day she can learn how to not complain and make requests. That's in my book, How to Ask for What You Want Without Complaining. Because when you use negativity, whether you're a man or a woman, and men now are more on their female side, so they'll do this as well. Low self-esteem men will always do it, is you use negativity to change somebody. You want to use love to change someone. You want to carry consideration, respect, all those kind of things to motivate people. But the using negativity is like using bombs in order to create peace. If you need bombs to create peace, then to sustain peace, you need more bombs. Okay. If your brain thinks that using negativity will get me what I want, that part of you uses negativity to get what you want, rather than stop it, pattern interrupt, start learning how to ask for what you want in a language and in a way. And that's in the book, where a man says, sure, I'd be happy to do that. And the first step was a biohack I was talking about that my wife does. Like, we'll be in bed. Okay, we're going to bed. I just want to sleep. And she'll say, honey, would you go to the kitchen and get me some hot water? And I go, right away, happy to do it. When I do that, I know she's going to have sex with me. She didn't want to have sex with me before. That's going to put her over the edge if it was close. It's whenever a man does something little for a woman that she asks for, she has to ask for it. That's a big part. Because women don't ask. They're all terrible at asking. And then after years, they go, oh, he never does anything for me. And I say, well, what did you ask him to do? And if you did ask, were you complaining? Because complaining demotivates men. Asking. So there's a little biohack that I suggest couples learn. It's little things I can share in a short interview. Every day, I suggest women to practice asking and men to practice having an immediate response. It's kind of like you're the genie in the bottle, and she rubs the bottle and out comes the genie. Your wish is my command. But men don't want to feel like the slave or servant, whatever. We want to feel like your partner who helps you feel loved. And what will make women feel loved is when they can ask for something simple and a man will jump to it right away. If you've ever flown first class, you know how good it feels when you're flying first class and the woman comes and she says, there's a button here. You can push that button and have your meal, whatever you like. And whatever you need, just call me. I'm happy to be of service to you. That's the ultimate service person. So with my clients, happy to do it. When I do counseling with couples, I give them assignments. I don't just see them in sessions. I say, and text me what you did, so they have an ongoing relationship with me that they get to see that I care. Just don't make it too long of a text, okay? Because I have a lot of text to do.
Yes, I agree. Tyler wanted to know where you can order that genie that goes and does all this stuff for his wife.
This is the humor, but when a man is in love with a woman, what he wants is for her to enjoy having sex with him. That is the number one need men have. Now, I know women don't always relate to that. Some women haven't had sex in years. They go, why are you talking about sex? We're talking men. There's nothing more powerful to raise his testosterone than sex, or a partner who's interested in having sex with him, wants to have sex with him. It will knock your testosterone off the block. What happens is that when a man, why sex is important to men, we have to understand this. Women like the non-sexual hug. You put your arms around her, you cuddle with her, you get close to her. All that is oxytocin producing safety, which allows her to feel in her mind, I can depend on him. He's my guy, and think loving thoughts about you. Okay, so this is a woman. We men having more testosterone, and that's one reason for it is that it allows us to have more muscle mass. Testosterone makes muscle mass, and using your muscles makes testosterone. Okay, so there's a whole relationship with our muscle mass. Every man, regardless whether he's a muscle man or not a muscle man, he has, in relationship to fat in his body, 25 times more muscle and for cells that make muscle. For a woman, she has 25% more, 25, not 25 times, 25% more. Women have 25% more cells that produce fat. Okay, so fat and muscle. Fat allows you to feel. Okay, the more fat somebody has on their body, the more feeling they are. So when you see a man who has a lot of fat, usually he's either prone to anger or anxiety or cries a lot, has emotions a lot. And this is the biggest turnoff to men. Big turnoff to men. I'm sorry, big turnoff to women, and also turnoff to men. It's like, why is he crying all the time? I don't relate. And we've become this society that says men should cry all the time. There's a great quote from China, having been there for 10 years, actually 14 years now, but the shutdown, I wasn't there. On and off, where a man says, a wise man, training boys how to become men who are crying. And he says, don't cry. A man should only cry when his heart is broken. That's very important. Like if your business is crashing, you don't cry, you do something about it. You do something. Whenever you do things, a plan of action, or you talk to somebody who has a plan of action for you, you learn what to do. Whenever you're into doing, your testosterone goes up. When you feel I can't do or I'm not doing, then your estrogen goes up. And then you will feel anger. You will feel fear. It's right in front of everybody's face. What is it we call the stress hormone? Cortisol. Fight or flight. Fight or flight. Run away is fear and fight is anger. Whenever a man is experiencing, or a woman is experiencing anger or fear, guess what hormone is being produced? Estrogen. See, everybody thinks aggression in men is testosterone. No, it's testosterone going down, converting into estrogen through aromatase. And this is what you'll see. You can see so clearly with men who have low testosterone. They didn't compensate by taking testosterone. They get man boobs. You see, that testosterone they take turns into estrogen. And they have road rage. And they react to things. Or they have anxiety. All these terrible side effects of taking testosterone. The key is making testosterone. You have to be able to make it. And what makes it the most powerful thing to make is have a job. Okay, you have a job, you work, you set goals, you do things without complaining, you do things that you don't want to do. Okay, you do it, of course, unless it's a big outcome, you're going to want to do it. But sometimes you just go, oh, I got resistance to it, but I said I would do it, I'll do it. So that's part of our strength as men, is to do what we say we're going to do. It's just, and so every day I've got my set of goals that I'm going to do. And, you know, I have such a luxurious life. I don't have to work. This is what happens to so many men when they make enough money where they don't have to work, they stop working. I know that's death for me. That's a heart attack for me. Retirement for men, the insurance companies will say this is their studies, actuaries will look at this. 3 years after you retire, if you're a man, doing what you like to do rather than what you have to do to be of service in the world or to make money. If you don't have that, I have to do this is my soul's purpose, it's my mission. If you're not yet with that, you're at least, I got to pay the bills. If you don't have a have to in your life that you choose to do as a man, your testosterone will crash. And that's what happened during the lockdown when everybody was dependent on the government for money. Whenever you're dependent on something outside yourself for your survival or your fulfillment, your testosterone goes down. You need to feel it's up to me to do. That's independence is testosterone. And dependence, not even interdependence, it's dependence produces estrogen. And when women don't have a husband, when they're raising a child, this is the crisis of today. So much divorce, so many fathers are not in the home for a variety of reasons, but the father's not in the home. 60% of males in America are growing up without a father in the home. Without a father in the home, they don't have a role model. They don't know how to be a man. And to be a man is to be cool, calm, and collected. There's problems, we can solve them. We'll get through it. And if he doesn't have that role model, he doesn't even know how to activate his male genes. And we have, you know, what everybody needs to know, like particularly when I say these things about men, do not need to talk about their feelings. Now, if you're happy feelings, positive feelings, I love you, honey, you're amazing. I feel so lucky to be with you. You're the most important person in my life. I adore you. Those feelings, sure, men should talk about those feelings. But anytime men have negative feelings, angry emotions, sad emotions, hurt emotions, scared emotions, fearful emotions, they're on their way talking about that, having no sex between their partner, because those emotions come from a part of the brain that's childlike. They don't come from your prefrontal cortex. They come from a childlike part of you. And children should cry, and boys should cry as children, you know, and be angry and be upset, all the things, because boys have the same estrogen levels as little girls from age 2 to 13 to puberty. And when a boy hits puberty, that's where he takes on these masculine qualities. His testosterone levels go 10 times higher. And testosterone is about detachment, not indifference. It's detachment. It's how do you feel good when you're a man? You solve problems, you take action. And at the end of the day, when you can't solve problems, you relax, you rest. Another thing that men have to learn to do is not be workaholics. You burn yourself out. You get mental problems. You have to have recreation. That was called hobbies. So you have your work, then you have your hobby. I call that cave time. You know, every man, Mars, cave time. That all came from Men Are From Mars. So you have this cave time activity that women have to understand. We're not coming home always just to eagerly have a conversation with our wives. We need to have first decompress from our day. Men have different ways to do it. Some are productive, some are not productive. Coming home and doing porn is not productive. Coming home and spending too much time video games is not productive, but a little could be okay for some guys. For me, I'm more traditional. I'm going to watch the news like grandpa used to read the newspaper. News is an amazing thing. Watching football is also an amazing thing. Sports, because what you're doing is you're able to detach but be engaged. I can watch the news. I can call the shots. I can say, well, they're so stupid. Their problems, you know, they should do this and this and this. Allows me to forget my problems, and I don't feel responsible to solve those problems. So that's a place for men to detach. This is the old, going to your cave is the oldest thing in history for men. It's called meditation. Meditation is to forget your problems. We have a gene that allows us to decompress from the stress of the day and rebuild our testosterone by forgetting our problems and solving little problems that don't cause stress. That's called a hobby. Problems that you can solve, which doesn't cause you stress. Now you're rebuilding your testosterone if you had a stressful day. That's cave time. Some guys are working on this old Ford car, rebuilding the engine. They have some hobby, and women go, he loves his hobbies more than me. No, he needs those hobbies. And if you keep
he can love you.
And he can love you, rightly said. It's like, that's the important thing, is we have to rebuild the testosterone to then be intimate and want to be close to our partners. If you're and women are like, they're told by psychology, we all need to be looking at each other's kumbaya, talking about our feelings, sharing our insecurities. No, this is wrong. This is destroying relationships. And I do these 3-day classes, and this one guy, he's on antidepressants. He's got anxiety things. He takes sleeping pills. His wife's going to leave him. She's he's such a baby, and he's overweight. Whenever you're overweight, that's a sign for a man that your female hormones are being produced too much. The big challenge for men in terms of heart disease, again, and heart attacks come when you have belly fat. Belly fat is like this thing that it's like a creature all by itself whose job is to make boobs and put on weight. The belly fat in a man produces estrogen. That's the function of fat. Fat is to make estrogen. Women naturally, they become a little fatter as they get close to the ovulation because they need extra fat in order to make the baby in case they get pregnant. Then it starts to go off. But the fat on the body produces estrogen, and estrogen itself produces fat. And when men start getting estrogen, now we need estrogen, but not nearly as much as women do. We get enough of our estrogen through our wives, through our children, by caring about them. And now I'm coming back to a point I was going to make earlier, which is, why is sex so important to men? Because when you have sex, it's so pleasurable. Sexual feelings are so pleasurable that we begin to feel more. Okay. It produces estrogen. Actually, the interesting thing, you can't even have an erection unless you have high testosterone and your estrogen's going up. That's why when when you're connected with a woman, your estrogen starts to naturally go up. Just being with your wife, your estrogen is going to go up because you're thinking about her and you're caring about her and you're connecting with her. So as your estrogen levels go up, that's what causes an erection. If you look at psychopaths, they can't get erections because they have no estrogen. They have no conscience. They have no ability to connect with their female side. And so the only way they can connect with their female side is to hurt people. And then they feel the reaction that they're having. But what we are, healthy men, we basically go to our female side through serving our wives, doing things that make them happy, providing for them, giving them safety and security, makes us feel like a man, but also makes us feel heartfelt. So sex is this amazing phenomenon that happens in a man where, because he's feeling turned on, his estrogen levels are going up and he can actually begin to feel the love that's in his heart for his partner. If a man's not having sex, he can love his partner. You can say, well, do you love your wife? Well, yeah, I love her, but they don't feel it. It's in sex that we feel the love in our hearts the most. And so that's what women have to understand, why sex is so important to men. Women have other ways to feel love because they have so much estrogen. They can go to their doctor and love their doctor. They can read a book and love their book. They can love their therapist. They can love their children. They can love their friends. All these things can produce estrogen in women. We don't have that easy access, but it's by arousal, a woman's love for us, and why we're limited in that is that we just don't have as much estrogen. And if our mothers didn't have a lot of estrogen, then we're even more limited. So yes, we can feel love and we love sex, but it's a little bit like loving ice cream. Our president who loves ice cream. I love my ice cream. And
it's the most important thing. Yes.
But I have to tell you, when I turned 70, I'm 73 now, but ice cream became really important to me. It's so funny. It's because we naturally have more estrogen. So when I turned 70, that's when I started having a belly fat. And people ask me, how do you cut back on the estrogen and come back to more testosterone? Because they don't happen simultaneously. You have to have your work and you have to overcome challenges. You have to have goals. You have to have ambition. All that stuff, being independent, is going to produce testosterone. And then providing for a woman or your family is going to take it even higher, because now you're not about yourself at all. You're about them, which is the greatest thing in the world. But then when that person that you care so much about is not happy, it's like knocks you down and you don't understand, what did I do wrong? I'm doing everything right. And that knocks down the testosterone because you feel powerless. And then when she doesn't want to have sex with you, you feel even more powerless. Because she used to, that was the deal in the beginning. There was all that sex. But now let me explain it. First of all, I call it enlightened sexuality. And I wrote a whole book on this called Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. I also add to it in this book. I have a course on my website called Secrets of Great Sex. I think everybody should review it every year because we tend to forget that stuff as reported by women. So,
because by their own definition, they've got it down.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Nicely said. Nicely said. And keep in mind that one of the genes that we have that women don't understand is our efficiency gene. The efficiency gene is basically never do anything you don't have to do. Why should I do anything if I don't have to do it? Give me the big stuff. I'll do the big stuff, but I have to do it. Well, men don't realize what you have to do to keep a woman's estrogen levels up. And when a woman is actually in a world that really doesn't support women, if they're married and have children like your wife, the culture she lives in is not giving her the support of 30 other women doing the same thing. You go to indigenous tribe, the men do the jungle thing, the men sit around the fire, the men sharpen their tools, the women all throughout the day, they're with other women, they're talking a lot, talking about them, whatever they're feeling, what they're thinking, all that produces estrogen. They feel safe, they feel supported, other women will take the jobs for them. So men are doing their job, women are doing their job. And if a man and women are doing gardening and all that, if a man was to do gardening, they would be disgusted with him and kick him out. That's women's work. And if a woman was to do men's work, men would not want them to do it because it's dangerous. Men do the dirty jobs, the dangerous jobs, the difficult jobs. And guess what? We're happy to do it. And guess what happens at night? When I was in the jungle in South America with the Ashwar Indians or with the natives in Africa, the same thing goes on at night when you have a couple. They have sex every night. And the women are multi-orgasmic. Now, why are they multi-orgasmic? I mean, you don't even do much foreplay, actually. They're just ready to go. It's spectacular. Not that I'm talking from experience, but what
the huts were thin. Yes.
And you can have conversations, but yeah, the huts are thin. You hear the moaning in the night. So what's going on here? Why are they multi-orgasmic? And how to compare those women with American women? Half of American women have never had an orgasm. 25% of the women who are not in that group have only had climax, which they call orgasm, which is with themselves and their clit. And then the other 25%, part of them, and they can't do it with a man. So only 25% of women can actually orgasm or climax with a man. I differentiate climax and orgasm. Orgasm is vaginal, climax is clitoris. And if all you have is clitoral, then you can't have orgasm vaginal. And so this is all part of our sex education.
Dan has had sex with 50% of the population of women because they don't have an orgasm? What?
That was a long way to go on that joke, Joe.
I was like, Dan's had a lot because all these unsatisfied people.
And,
Yes.
everything is paradoxical. If you feel pressure that a woman should have an orgasm for you to feel successful as a man, it interferes with her ability to have orgasm. So it's like every sex therapist at least knows that. You have to take all the pressure out of it. And then you have to understand the dynamics of foreplay, of gradually building up the estrogen. And
Joe, I'm just taking the pressure off, man.
That's all you were doing.
You got taking the pressure off. Well, Freud explained this. There's he called it mature and immature orgasm. A young woman can't yet have a vaginal orgasm. She can only have a clitoral climax because she doesn't have the emotional maturity to know herself. It usually happens around 27, 28. That's where potentially she can know herself to open her heart up and feel safe opening her heart up. That's what happens in the vagina. What happens in the clit is just pleasure. But, it's not like you give up on the clit. You just do the clit until she feels the clit is something you want. It makes testosterone. It awakens the woman's desire to have sex. Then she begins to feel, I need you. And when she feels, I need you, she can then go to these heights of ecstasy. Well, these women in the jungle, they're making estrogen all day long. See, you don't need foreplay with them. They're making estrogen.
The men are doing
Dr. Gray,
very dangerous stuff. Yes.
I think the title of your next book should be "Never Give Up on the Clit." I mean, that is gold, sir. I mean, talk about sales.
Okay, I want to bring us back. So right now we have a new book. We being you made it, and I'm taking credit for it. Yes. So you have the new book that's going to help individuals to get past this and reprogram themselves to get back to what works.
Yes.
Right. But you also have supplements.
Yeah.
That are designed. Can we talk about that for the next couple
Sure,
minutes
sure.
before we end?
First of all, why does John Gray, relationship expert, recommend supplements? All right.
Yeah.
And have supplements.
That's what I asked.
Okay, I'm 73. When I turned 50, I had early stage Parkinson's. My sister died of Alzheimer's at 60, you know, and I've had a lot of concussions in my life. I'm a wild guy, right? So maybe 10 major concussions, which contributed to early stage Parkinson's. And what I did is figured out how to heal it. And whenever I talk about that, I've got to tell people I'm not going to give classes on healing. And I did in the past. I created a healing center and a wellness center, another named by Dr. Hinz, Hinz. He also did something similar to what I did. And he helps clients stop the progression of Parkinson's and sometimes reverse it, particularly if it's in the beginning. So go to Dr. Hinz, go to PubMed, because people all tell me whenever I do this, say, oh, I got a relative, I got this. I don't have time to deal with that. But
you're reporting the news. You're not. I didn't make the news. I'm just reporting it. Yeah.
I'm just reporting news. Okay. So, well, I did in the beginning, and it was a lot of work and a lot of time, because when people have Parkinson's, they don't remember to take their supplements. You have to help them. You have to regulate how much to give them, because it's a settled condition. Okay. So I had a wellness center for 7 years, because having healed my own brain, I realized this is amazing. Supplements are amazing. And how can I help people and so forth? And then learned all that. Then there was a class action suit threatened against me from some slimy lawyer who wanted to say I was making claims and take me to court. He just wanted me to settle outside. I did settle outside. I said, what's it going to cost for you to go away? He just wanted me to, and I paid him off. And I said, I don't need that vulnerability. So many other people are teaching great things about health and wellness. And so I got out of that business. But I kept one, which is the supplement I think is the best for anybody, particularly if you have any mood swings. Okay. If you have mood swings, it's really, really important. And also if you want your brain to regenerate due to brain injuries, it does prove in the test tube to cause brain cells to regenerate themselves and increase. So theoretically, I now have more brain cells than in the past. That supplement has one of the major ingredients that's unique is lithium. Lithium was given by doctors to bipolar, helping people not have these extreme mood swings. But what the doctors did is they took lithium right out of the ground and gave it to people, lithium carbonate. And that, for it to work, you had to have 500 times the dose of salt that you need. It's a salt. So if you take 500 times the dose of salt, it's going to have side effects. So if you go online and look at lithium therapy, they say, oh, there's all these side effects. You have to be very careful. And of course, the drug companies support all that. They don't want people to be able to naturally take a mineral to help mood stability. So Dr. Nieper, a German doctor who had great fame in using minerals to heal conditions, he used lithium in a form that you didn't have to use a high dose. He bonded it with a substance in mother's milk. And that mother's milk is it's a substance called uric acid. And you bind it through a special process of lithium and uric acid. So only a little bit of lithium, a tiny, tiny bit, bonded to uric acid will cross the blood-brain barrier and do its work right away. I've seen, for me personally, I've seen with my children, having taken all these sort of erratic tendencies dramatically drop, mood swings for people dramatically drop. This one man, it was just this weekend, I told him, just go for 2 weeks. Do not express any emotion, no crying, no sadness, no hurt, no scared, no anger. Just suck it up. Do not express it. And the wife was going, our marriage is so much better now without this child around. And he shared it. He came to the weekend course and he just shared to everybody, this was hard for me to do, but I've never felt like a man. I feel strong. See, You don't have to talk about your feelings as a man. And this is a driving point, because another man says, wait, I have an objection to that. My girlfriend says I have to talk about my feelings. Yes, that's what psychology is telling everybody, that somehow you have to talk about feelings in order to feel better. How about you're in a bad mood? Go do something. Go help somebody. That's what makes men feel better, is taking action, because you only have negative emotions if you're a man, if you're not solving problems and doing something to solve problems. Now, for a woman, solving problems does not make her feel better. Maybe on a certain level it does, but what do women all say when they come to me and they're stressed? I feel overwhelmed. I have so much to do. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. They're solving problems all the time. Doesn't make them feel better. But when they can talk about what they're feeling, talking about emotions, talking when you're emotional, either way, raises estrogen. So if a man already has a lot of emotions, he has too much estrogen, talking is the worst thing for him to do. That's why instinctively, if you look at traditional counseling, not coaching is strategy usually, but counseling is you go to a therapist and you talk about your feelings and you say, how do you feel? And tell me about your childhood and tell me about this. You will feel better. 90% of the people who do that are women. Here's a difference. Why? Because women feel better when their estrogen goes up. We know that's biologically true. When it doubles, when their estrogen doubles, they want to have sex. That's the whole idea. So you say to your wife, honey, do you want to have sex? No, it doesn't mean she doesn't want to have sex. It means that she doesn't have enough estrogen right there to have sex. And then you just have to go through the motions of building up the estrogen, and then she's going to be in the mood for sex. So this is all like new skills. We're not indigenous Indians where women just did estrogen activities. Now they're supermen. They're super salespeople. I was listening, I don't watch The View, but I watch other people make fun of The View. Okay. And these women sitting around talking. And there's this one scene where all the woman is talking about, she's quote the blonde hot woman, right? And they're talking about relationships. And she says, I have the perfect husband. And they all get excited. Oh, what's he like? What's he like? She says, he's like the perfect wife. He takes care of the kids. I have to get up at 4:00 in the morning, go into New York City to do the show. When I come home, I'm exhausted. He's made dinner. He's cleaned the house. He's raised the children. He's the perfect husband. And I'll go, amazing. You're so lucky. What's the sex like? She starts laughing. We stopped having sex after our third child. Are you kidding? Who cares about sex? And what she is, she's dried up. She will have the worst menopause ever. Okay. And she's fooled herself to think that money's the thing that's going to make her happy. Now, certainly she does have some joy in her life. She does have kids, but they're on the road for divorce. It will happen because for a man, he needs to have sex in order to feel his love for a woman. And ultimately, even though she's a bit lost on her male side, when women relax, they will feel lonely. They will feel the need for love because being reassured that they are loved. So let me give you, I know we're kind of winding down here. I got other people calling me.
I was going to say, we've gone way over. Your next meeting is going, hey, where's John?
Okay, so let me skip that reassurance. Let me give you the ultimate biohack. People say, how do you raise estrogen in a woman? How do you raise testosterone in men? The most powerful of all. My supplements work. You can go to marsvenus.com. Right there on the homepage at the top, it says for men, for women. Click a button, and it will explain all much more than what I just said. All right, so that's a really powerful thing, and thanks for letting me share that because I really think that's important. Now, but the other thing that's even more important is not taking something, but learning how do you get rid of belly fat. Now, you can go to the gym. You can see guys working out, and they're over 50. They got belly fat. Working out's not going to get rid of it. And what they have to do is they've got to lose the belly fat. How do you do it? Well, I didn't know, so I don't have a book written on this. I read a book on this, tested it out. I'm telling everybody about it, which is what I do. When I find something that works, it worked on me. I had a 40-inch belly. Now, once you're at a 40-inch belly, you're at risk for heart disease. And if beyond that, you're at a higher risk of heart. That's your belly sticking out. When you relax your belly, how big is it? So for me, 40 inches. And within 3 weeks, I went down to 2.5 inches less of my belly fat. Wow. Could not believe it. Okay. Now, what I did to get that belly fat, for 7-10 years, I was doing intermittent fasting, thinking I'm doing the best thing. It's like eating only in a small window of time, not eating snacks, not eating this stuff. But what happened in the beginning, it went away. And then gradually over time with the belly fat, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, 2.5 inches, 3 inches bigger. So what was I doing wrong? I wasn't eating 3 meals a day. If you want a metabolism that will burn fat, you need to eat 3 meals a day. It's very important. Occasionally you can do a short, cleanse, a couple of days, just liquid protein. So what the Dr. Arciero, what he found out, he's the only doctor with 3 peer-reviewed studies showing that you can go on a diet plan, not calorie restriction, but calorie increasing, that causes you to lose fat and build muscle mass even without exercise, and particularly in the belly. Belly fat for women disconnects them from their emotions and lowers their estrogen levels. Belly fat for men, what it does is it actually produces more emotions in men and causes negative emotions in men, or numbness, and it actually lowers testosterone. And this is what happens. You can actually see graphs where as belly fat gets bigger, testosterone levels go down. How to get rid of it? If you diet over time or do intermittent fasting where you only eat 1 meal a day or only 1.5 meals, you're cutting off your calories. If you cut off your calories, you will always lower your metabolism. It's a real simple formula. Eat less, you'll lose weight, and you'll gain it back. The most dramatic example of that, which was Oprah when she starved herself back in the 90s, and she came out looking like a little girl, as tiny as could be. Then she ballooned up and she can never lose weight again. If she did this diet, she would be able to come back to her normal shape, not that little starved girl, but she'd come back to her healthy, normal shape. And what Dr. Arciero did is he says you have to eat 35 grams of protein every 4 hours. Every 4 hours. You wake up with thirst half an hour, you start with 35 grams of protein. 4 hours later, you basically another 4 or 5 hours later. You just never want to be hungry. You can't be hungry or suppress hunger. Because if you go without food for a few days, you'll suppress hunger. You won't be hungry. So you want to feel hunger, and you want to get to that place where you could feel hunger, but you're giving yourself 35 grams of protein. Then you have a lunch, okay, a little late lunch, eat your food. Then basically you have a snack, a protein snack in the afternoon. Then you have dinner, and then you have a 35 grams of protein before you go to bed. And he's proven that following that regime, people will lose fat 15 to 25 pounds in a month of pure fat and build muscle mass without exercise. He asked people not to do exercise. So you can find Dr. Arciero. You can go online, read about it. If you want to do the program that I used, what I do is I like things fast. So I did 3. He calls you do these shakes that have enzymes in them. When you put enzymes in a dairy shake, it will let it sit for 45 minutes in hot water. It will cook itself. And when it cooks itself, it breaks down the protein to release amino acids. The amino acids is what builds your muscle mass, not protein. Your body makes protein out of amino acids, so it has to break down the proteins. If you eat steaks and eggs and those kind of proteins, you'll get about 20% of the amino acids, and the rest is toxic byproduct. If you have plant protein, you're only getting 10% of the amino acids. And in the beginning, it's great. But what happens over time is all these side effects happen. But what he found is that you can take high doses of protein if you incubate it with the enzymes and with the protein shake, and he uses dairy product for that because it's very easy to break it down with the enzymes. And then you do that shake, you have your lunch, have your dinner, have a shake before bed. That's it. And then you do that 5 days in a row. And then for 2 days, you drink mainly bone broth and a few things like aloe vera to help clean out your cells and so forth. It's a cleansing day. So still there's some little bit of fasting, but everybody tells me they feel great on it because they're still getting their protein. And it's protein.
They feel full because it's protein.
Oh, you're so full. I think part of the big thing for me is at night I watch the news and I snack. It's the worst thing to do is snack at night. And right. You can't even eat. And also when you think I want a snack, you got this delicious protein shake with no sugar. And you still think it's delicious because the sugar, it starts with sugar. The sugar activates the enzymes along with the heat to break down the protein. And it actually digests the sugar as well. So you're getting a sugar-free shake that feels like a milkshake. It's outrageous how powerful this is. Anybody can do it. I've been sharing this with everybody. I'm excited about it. If people want to learn more about the products that I'm taking and what to do, you can go to my website, marsvenus.com, go to the very bottom of the page and contact me. Just contact me, send me your information, give me your phone number. Either I'll call you or somebody who's already done the program will call you and tell you how to do it. Because there's subtleties to it that I can't, in a brief period of time. And you want to have someone to encourage you to do it. So that's available to people if they want to lose that belly fat. And in the company that I order the stuff from, if it doesn't work for you, you get your money back. There's no risk at all. Literally get a month's supply of so many shakes and bone broth soup and snacks that you get. And you do that for 30 days, you're going to lose 15 pounds, mostly out of your belly fat. If you don't want it, you don't get the results, ask for your money back.
And check the notes on the show as well as whatever streaming service we're on and watching it. I put the marsvenus.com/contact.
So
you can go right to the contact form.
I know that we've gone a long time. I really love talking about you. You know what I'm excited about is I just saw all those successful people, and I just, love resonating with successful people. Why it's good to be with successful people, and to know that a lot of the skills that make us successful are not the skills that work in our relationships. Because we're good problem solvers. We jump in there and problem solve them. And for a man with a woman, you want to not go right to the solution. And when your wife is a very successful problem solver, she's not going to talk about her feelings. So you have to train her. My books help train women to how to be vulnerable, how to express emotion without pushing it down by solving problems. Because when you solve a problem, you make testosterone. When you talk about your feelings that are reacting to problems, insecurities, doubts, and whatever, when you share that, you're producing estrogen. And that's what we want. So here's the last part. And then I'm going to give my final biohack. Unless you want to ask me something else.
Dr. Gray, I just want to say that I really admire the fact that you can say you have to train women and you don't get canceled. I mean, that is genius.
I was giving credit to Netta because the finger didn't come up when he said it, but she was.
I'm here thinking I need the book because I need to train myself. I'm a problem solver, and I need to step back.
There she goes, solving
the
problem.
Said it better than me. Women can read the book and train themselves, and I'm right on. It was a mistake on my side. You can. Men are used to being trained, but you can't say to a man, "I'm going to train you," and you certainly can't say to a woman, "I'm going to train you." But I'm speaking from my point of view, which is the book will help people to train themselves.
Absolutely.
But there is a real, we grow by being successful, and all of the suggestions I make are little, and they build on success. I'm just thinking, I sort of lost my flow there, but I'm thinking about Netta, and we were talking before the show, and I was saying, men don't talk about your feelings, and Netta said, but don't they need to? And not only is it what psychology says men need to, no, they don't. Little boys can talk about their feelings, but when everybody talks about, oh, poor these problems, all these dysfunctional men, they go to jail, and it is 90% of the people go to are criminals are men. Big difference is it's not because they didn't cry when they were growing up. It's because their parents argued and fought and they didn't resolve things. And so they grew up without a happy family. That's it. Has nothing to do with, oh, little boy, I didn't get to cry. No, your parents were messed up and you grew up in this non-loving environment. Then you become a criminal in every case. And I know this from my own experience because I'm not a criminal, but I teach criminals. I've taught in San Quentin.
I was so waiting for I play one on TV. That's what I was waiting for. I'm not a criminal, but I do play one on TV.
That's a good one. I do feel like an outlaw. There's no question about it. And I taught at Stanford and Harvard, and that was kicked out. I'm a criminal. They'll demonstrate. They have to have police protect me if I was to go on those campuses, and they don't want me, and they don't want to pay for the police.
Don't talk about getting things better, John. It's not that.
But let me mention the woman's side of this. See, when a man doesn't talk about his feelings, a woman can only interpret it from her point of view. And women generally don't want to talk about their feelings if they don't trust you or if they're angry with you. And so she assumes, there's just an instinctive assumption that if he doesn't want to talk about his feelings, that he's hiding something from you, He's angry with you. He doesn't trust you. So that's one thing. But two is that when men are stressed, we can look biology wise, when women have moderate stress in a woman, adrenaline, she will have an increase of blood flow to the emotional part of the brain 8 times. And under moderate adrenaline, a man will decrease blood flow because as a challenge, he needs to disconnect from the female side, which wants to be nice to everybody, to the male side, has to figure out what I have to do, regardless of what other people think. So that's like you drive your car a little faster than usual. You feel good. You're producing adrenaline. You have no worries. You disconnect. You're able to forget other things. And you're focused on what do I have to do? So there's reasons why women panic. Here's a biohack. When your husband suddenly disconnects from you when you're in a conversation, he's really just thinking about what you're saying and no longer feeling connected to you. He's considering, is she upset with me? Do I have to do something about this? Is this my problem? Is somebody else's problem? How important is it? We go through a whole mulling over process and there's no feeling there. So what a woman can do, rather than feel a little distraught that my husband's not listening or he's not connected or he's mad at me, what's going on? And then she wants to say, what are you feeling? The wrong question to ask. Right. What she can simply say is just a comment. She says, oh, you're thinking about what I'm saying. And he will always say, yes, I'm thinking about it. There's no man
that knows what's good for him.
Yeah, he's going to be thinking. So don't ask, and don't even ask, what are you thinking? Just affirm. So you're thinking about it. And when he says yes, the tone of his voice is comforting because it's a yes. And it's not going to, it sort of lets you know that he's not mad at you. Even though he might be a little mad at you, if you say you're thinking about it, he'll say yes and become less mad at you. It's amazing. And yet, if you say, I know you're upset about something, what is it? It's just a downward slope from there. And women just feel like to have a good relationship, you have to talk about your feelings. And women want to feel that connection. They need it because connection produces estrogen. Disconnection, detachment produces testosterone. So how do women get connection? Don't go into him, invite him into you. So women have 2 holes.
Boy, words to live by, Joe.
you invite him into your vagina, either emotionally or physically, you'll feel connected. He doesn't have a vagina. So if you try to go in his hole, you get an asshole. Is that what you want?
Wow. This is going to some really new places.
At that point, we just drop the mic and say, we're good. We're done. Fantastic.
It's just like, I know this is shocking. Women want to get, their biggest thing is, he doesn't want to talk. I want him to talk. You can get him to talk, but not about his feelings and not when you're feeling desperate for connection. But it does happen with couples. You've already said it all. What's there to talk about, in life? Women need to talk in order to feel connection. So I recommend going online and getting one of these little books called Couples Questions for Couples, or questions to fall in love. They're all over the place. I said I was going to do one, and my daughter Lauren said, Dad, everybody's doing that. You don't need to do that. So I recommend it.
I have a question about this. I have a question of this. Women need to talk and men don't need to talk. So how are we supposed to communicate if I need to talk and he needs not to talk?
You talk and he listens. That's called communication. But
that's not communication. Communication is both of us talking.
Then you can talk about anything, but not about his feelings. I talk about politics. I talk about what's that?
So men should not talk about their feelings
with their wives.
So they should talk to other women about their feelings?
No.
Who should they talk about their feelings?
You don't need to talk about your feelings if they're negative. You talk to yourself about them. You mull them over, or you journal them, or you go to a therapist to talk about it. Or you can, I'm really great with men's support groups where you can talk about feelings if you wish to talk about feelings. But usually what men do in support groups is they talk about problems they're having with their wives or with their business. And we all don't need to talk much about feelings because we already understand what you're feeling. You might say, oh, that's terrible. That's brutal. Well, that's terrible. Or you can do therapy. I think men have to get out of this. Everything's therapy. Although when you have anxiety and depression, there's processes that I teach for men to do processing their feelings. But if they do that with their wives, you've never had that. You don't know what that's like. Women who get these men who talk about their feelings become disgusted. You can't have romantic feelings. You're going to feel like he's your child. So many women will say to
nibbly little bitch. Yes.
That's right. That's right. And women say, oh, he's a baby. He's a child. What an insult to him. But she's the one who got him to be that way in her mind by asking him feelings. So you have this idea you can't have a conversation. You know, conversation is someone listening to you. That's a conversation. If he's talking about feelings, what am I feeling? Nothing. That's fine. You don't need to know what I'm feeling. And actually, I don't need to know what I'm feeling all the time. I need to know what I need to do. I need to know what I think. And if you want to have a conversation, you can say to him, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What happened today at work? What did you do? What happened? Or what's your opinion about this? You can have all kinds of conversations, not just this conversation, which is you'll do something that will annoy him. And then you'll feel he's annoyed. And then you want to have a conversation about it. And then you're going to say, well, what are you feeling? He'll say nothing because he knows as soon as he says anything, let's say he says, well, I'm a bit annoyed that you did that to me or you said this. And you'll say, well, why would you be annoyed? And you'll be in an argument. It will go right down the ski slope. You'll tumble down. There's no need to go there. Men process frustration by not talking. Now, you can talk about things, but not in order to explore what his feelings are, because you want to know, basically, you're needing reassurance that his feelings are not angry with you, that he loves you. So here's the final hack I'm going to give you for today. And you won't feel this need to know what he's feeling inside, because every day he's going to tell you his love. He's going to express his love to you.
Buy one rose every day because it's cheaper.
No, not every day. Not every day.
For the 24.
It's the whole point. There's lots of little things. But this is something you do every day.
Yes.
You want to have the same feelings you had when you fell in love. Every woman does. You know, the marriage, all the attraction becomes less and less over time. Women go, I want to feel the way we felt in the beginning. So go back and feel what you felt in the beginning. What do women feel in the beginning of a relationship? Do you like me? Do you love me? Are you happy to be with me? Are you committed to me? Do you think I'm beautiful? Are you attracted to me? Am I the most important person in your life? Yes, you want to know all that stuff. Okay, so what you do every day is one of those 4 hugs. After one of the 4 hugs, the woman says to him, do you like me? He says, yes. Do you love me? He says, yes. You say, how much do you love me? He says, with all my heart. You say, do you think I'm beautiful? I think you're so beautiful. Are you happy to be married to me? I'm so happy to be married to you. Are you glad you're married to me? Yes, I'm glad I'm married to me. Do you regret marrying me? No, I don't regret marrying you. Are you angry about that argument we had the other day? No, I'm not angry at all. It's all gone. I love you. That's what can happen every day. And you will feel it because you had to feel it first. You have to be vulnerable. Then a man can experience more feeling. So I always walk around knowing, of course, I love my wife, but I don't fully feel it until she opens up and says, do you love me? And now, if you don't have this as a context, as a biohack, then what happens if you actually were to say what you felt in the beginning of the relationship, you would say, well, do you love me? And he would say, of course I love you. Why would you ask such a stupid question as that? That's ridiculous. Why do you think I married you? So you leave all that stuff around and you leave your own defensiveness from being vulnerable, take it away. Because then what women will do, well, you know, of course he loves me. I know he loves me. There's not any woman who doesn't look in the mirror and think, am I still beautiful? Does he still attracted to me? Does he still want me? Am I the most important? These are the delicate, vulnerable feelings that women have, just like every man has his own need for reassurance. When I give a talk, I can give a talk and everybody could I could end with a meditation. Everybody be quiet and go out of the room. That's not reassuring to me. I want everybody to clap. And when they stand up and give me a standing ovation, man, that feels great. That's called giving me the reassurance that I'm successful. That produces testosterone. And a woman will feel that as well. That's her testosterone going up. But women are biologically based on 10 times to 20 times more estrogen. So this is what will knock up the estrogen, is to be vulnerable. I'm vulnerable in giving this talk. I put out my truth. I put that vulnerability out there. I get acknowledged for it, appreciated for it. I got these 2 guys nodding their head, knowing I'm doing a good job here, hitting it out of the park, having some good time. So that's there. I get the response. gives my testosterone a boost. Women's response they need is lots of little gestures to say, I'm important, that that you love me, that I'm beautiful. And what women don't know is when our heart is open, you are the most beautiful woman in the world. You can't know that because women are so judgmental of themselves. But if a man's heart opens, that's why you warm his heart up. Do you like me? Do you love me? How much do you love me? Are you happy to be with me?
Every time you say those questions, the baby grins like there's no tomorrow.
And she does too.
She's down there going, yes, you're right. You're right. Do you love me? Do you do this? So my brother threw out there, what do you do when they ask a hypothetical question like, would you love me if I was a worm?
You're right. It's just, there's nothing, the first 3 years of my marriage with Bonnie, I did not know what she was talking about. She would say, John, I need reassurance. I need reassurance. I didn't know what that meant, sure. Yes. What do I do? We figured this out, just put it out very straight. And being vulnerable is like a woman taking off her clothes for the first time in front of you. See, that's vulnerable. That causes testosterone to go up for a man. So anyway, that's a really good, that's one of my favorite biohacks. The other one is what I do is to keep my belly there. And then all the little things, they're all in this book. And people go to.
And there's links in the show notes. There's been links I've added to the comments of every one of the streams that's out there. So I'd say go get the book. Also for the parents, Hunt Gather Parent was what he was doing. Dr. Arciero for the belly fat.
He calls it protein pacing. Protein pacing.
Fantastic. And so
I'm going to read the book, obviously. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to think that. First, I'm going to go read the book. And then if I need more time with you, how do I get that?
Okay. Always, I have a counseling practice. There's a waiting list, but certainly I would put you ahead of anybody because Joe is my good friend now. And so that would be a possibility.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
I do love the same thing you said, which is that set the date, right, for the thing. And then when you said, if a woman is asking you in the sales process, you say, okay, what time works best for you? You're literally setting a date and a time. So it totally correlated across back when Dan and I were like, sales, this is all sales. This is so sales, right? Everything that you put out there is sales. And I loved it.
I want to say something. I'll say something else about sales. Mm-hmm. We all have an energy of whether we're trustworthy or not. If you're a man and a woman trusts you at home to open her heart to you and feels loved by you, you radiate. That's my biggest sales technique. My wife thinks I'm the greatest. And my wife, again, thinks I'm the greatest. And I earn it. It's not like just that, well, whatever. It gives you the confidence of a woman loving you. It radiates off of you. And for women, their power is that I love men. When I love men, then I'm a man. So I'm going to feel more loved and supported by this woman, that her happiness in my presence is so key. I can do this, what we talked about before. And
I'm going to give you a biohack, John. You ready for this, for the next book?
Okay.
Yeah. I take a paper towel and bleach and I spray it. And then I put it over by the front door. So as she walks in the door, she thinks I cleaned.
I'm using that.
Yeah, it's the quickest way.
I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the quickest way. All of a sudden, the estrogen goes up 25% more than it's supposed to be. So that
you make a good point, which I'm going to make another little point. When when she turned 50, I wanted to do something special. Got T-shirts with her picture on it, whatever. But the key thing that really made the impact was she saw me the whole weekend online trying to find a great vacation spot for the family with the best deal. The best deal, got it half price. She saw me toiling. She said, when women can see you working for them, it's a big memory. So that's the dynamic. And when it comes to dating, a biohack, if you can, once a week, do something without the kids, with the wife, and you plan it a week in advance. That's the hack. If you say, what do you want to do tonight? There's no estrogen. Estrogen builds by anticipation in women, just as testosterone builds in a man through anticipating success. And so you discuss what you're going to do the next weekend on a Saturday for next Saturday. Then what you do in that discussion, if it's going to be romance you want to raise her estrogen, ask her. And what women can do from their side of romance is be prepared. 3 things you would like to do next week. And then you share with him. He says, where do you want to go? And she says, well, here's 3 things I like to do. Tells you what they are, things that you could do. And then he picks. When he picks, he's being the guy. He's taking responsibility for pulling it off. And she is basically making sure she gets what she would like, what she wants. As opposed to a lot of couples, what happened to us in the beginning, I'd say, honey, where you want to go? I think we should go to a movie. And she said, well, let's think about ballet. And I said, well, who's in the ballet? And I said, but this movie's really great. So she says, okay, we'll go to the movies. But in her mind, she's thinking, next time for her, today for you, tomorrow for me. But I didn't know that. I just thought we're going to the movies because that was the best idea. Because to me, ballet was the big deal. But then finally, after like 10 times, she says, we always do what you want. I said, I thought you wanted it too. But no, you try to reciprocate. And then if you want to build estrogen, it's the romantic date as always, finding out in advance things that she would like to do, but not that she's telling you to do it. You decide. Because what that does, it frees her from any pressure that you're going to be happy on the date.
Testosterone building side.
Well, you see, she's nodding her head. See, if a woman says we should go here, she's always going to be concerned. Is he going to like it? Is he not going to like it? So that's a pressure on her. So you take all the pressure off of her, which is she says 3 things, and then you happily say, all right, let's do this. And then it's something she likes, but she feels no pressure. And your wife really related to that one right away.
I did. And Joey's very good at that. I got to tell you, a lot of things he said, Joey's really good. He walks home. First thing he does, he walks over and kisses me. Hugging. Yeah, it's there all the time. We don't have date nights, but we do have, he does plan things and he does take me out. So I think I'm going to get a lot out of your book. So I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all. And now my family is calling to me. So
yes, they are. They're like, what are you doing? It's Joe's fault. Just blame it on Joe.
Well, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
That's what I do.
As you should.
Thank you, Dan. Real pleasure to connect with you guys. Okay,
take care.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Dr. Gray.
Okay.
See you. All right. Do you have any questions for me, Coach Dan? Because evidently I'm amazing. That's what.
Well,
I don't know if John said it, but I felt it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I pulled from that entire interview.
Right. Was that Joe does it right?
And interview, yes. Is that Joe is straight on.
The picture up guy. That's like in his book, I'm on like 1 full page. Like as a centerfold, really is what I am. So perfect. Thank you, Dan, for sharing your time with us. Netta, thank you. Tell little Miss Sophia I said bye. And so fantastic. I'm going to tell everybody out there, go out and relate to someone after this episode. So fantastic. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.